Alright, this is probably going to be its own episodes of things I'm still thinking about. But, I wrote it, and maybe it's because I've written it down, and I've also yelled about it, that I feel less apt to share these thoughts, but I will. So, some people treat Barbie like it is a right. Like they have a right to change what Barbie is fundamentally to fit their narrative, or to fit some expectation, some societal expectation of what girlhood is. While under capitalism, making a product that people like and want is best practice. You have to make a doll that sells. Like, we have to keep that in mind. Okay, there is this level of you cannot change a tiger's stripes that I live by. I just do not think you can fix people. I do not think you can fix a lot of things. I think there's a lot about making the best of bad situations, but also knowing your limits. I don't think you should date men to try and fix them, and actively chose not to date someone who I thought I would have to fix. And it's worked out pretty well for me. He's a very nice man. But there are people who come into a situation and they decide they want to change the tiger's stripes. They talk about a reality show and they say, I would do it this way. And it's a way that completely either undermines the show, the product, or the idea, the conceit of the show. There are people who are they are so convinced that they're like, what they're seeing on TV is just so, these people are idiots and losers, and I would be smart. Like, the editors aren't going to edit you in the least favorable way possible. Like, there is just a level of delusion going on there, and I think that same delusion grips people who do not work in business marketing and do not work, like, even not working with it, but just your general understanding of how the world works is kind of as far as what a product is. And this isn't I don't feel that this is an all-encompassing idea of everyone I'm going to talk about in reference, but it is true for some people that I get deeply frustrated with. So, when you are selling a doll, you are trying to do two things. You are selling a doll that appeals to children that their parents have to buy. So, you end up with little people who want, they see on the TV that they've got the dolly. They've got the dolly that I want, so I want it. And I tell mom and dad, and mom and dad's like, oh my god, you cannot just have cigarette smoking, you cannot have black and mild Jennifer just because you want her. It's bad for you. However, instead of saying, I'm not going to buy black and mild Jennifer, I'm going to buy makes good decisions Tisha, they wander around on the internet, and before the internet in newspapers, complaining about fucking what's her face being bad. And I'm not saying we shouldn't have moral standards for our dolls. I'm using a very extreme example because I'm saying that we have certain moral expectations for a doll that we wouldn't even have for certain other things that we let our children do. So the parents trying to raise their kids looking for a fun product that is not going to emotionally scar them, the emotional equivalent of cigarettes. We end up with parents looking for the most positive representation, something that the kids enjoy, without also being like, here's the sugar rush, capitalism, spend daddy's money, your parents going to school isn't cool, believe in yourself, believe in a cheat. Now, come think with me for a little bit. Come join me. Think of a stock, basic, Midwestern little white girl. That's important. She likes basketball. She's 8. Between 7 and 8. She likes basketball. She's between the ages of, let's say, 7 and 9. She's into basketball, imagination, and cooking. Her parents buy her a Barbie for her to play with. They get a Barbie that plays basketball, and then they have one that's a chef. This is supposed to facilitate the dreaming, the imagination part, about her wanting to be a chef. Stock standard girl does not play with the doll, citing not liking Barbie, and they're proposing changes to the Barbie to make her cool. Why doesn't she have basketball shooting arms? Why doesn't she have a cooking set that she can already use? Do you see where I'm going with this? The parent could have bought her in a... sometimes you end up with these dolls. You end up... Or you could buy your child a fucking basketball. You could take them outside and talk to them about basketball. You could facilitate their imagination through other things, through creative writing and books and things. But instead, there's going to be a fleet of parents who feel that Barbie does not represent their child, so Barbie is bad. My question: why didn't you find a different toy? Like, I understand, we are not in a time where Barbie is the only toy. In my lifetime, as parents, people my age, people my age become parents and have to make decisions. We did not grow up in an era where Barbie was the only toy on the block. So why do some people still act like that? A fictional girl likes 3 things: cooking and basketball. Barbie dolls only facilitate the imagination. And if that form of play does not correspond with that child, it doesn't work at all. And yet there is a contingency of parents who believe that that Barbie has failed. I have 2 very close, like, female at birth friends who did not fuck with Barbie. They don't fuck with Barbara. Like, it wasn't their deal. Some of them were freaked out by the doll, and some of them were just like, yeah, this just isn't my jam. There's nothing wrong with the doll. There's something wrong with the market. If your style of play and conduct do not work with this, the doll is not the problem. This brings me... There's this seeming right to a Barbie, as though who you want to be who you want to be, isn't just a marketing slogan, but some righteous condemnation. It's like, I understand calling companies to stand by what they say, but like, fucking nerve or nothing? Like, go to the dollar store. It's fine. Be who you want to be. If you're taking it literally, means be who you want to be, even if that means not being a Barbie girl / person. In this rush to get a market share over the last 20 years, Barbie Prime, the basic blonde Barbie, career Barbie, has moved towards this grounded doll, losing the fun and fashion doll in exchange for realism and this perceived imagination and exceptionalism, where it's like, oh my god, did you see that fucking Barbie? She's so career. And like, I'm gonna get to it, so I feel like I don't need to put this asterisk. This has nothing to do with body type, skin color, or other adornment elements. This has to do almost exclusively with people with the Lamliy doll. We're gonna get to it. Like, there is finding, this section of the video is called Finding Some Balance Between Girl Woman Bossing and the Right to Be Girly. There's some like feminism platitudes about, you know, my right, the people fought for my right to be a dumb bitch, and you know what, they did. Capitalism, baby. I've been in a mood lately. This was inspired by darlingdollz video about Lammly and how bland she is. And this is my personal opinion about how bland she is. Lammly, if you don't know, because this doesn't include context from my videos, Lammly is this doll created by this man, red flag, sorry, who creates this product to call out Barbie. He doesn't even create the product. He photoshops Barbara to be regular woman proportions and says, Barbie is so skinny. She is making your daughter sickly. He cites these, poorly cited sources, and then is like, Barbie is bad. Look at her round rump and reasonable breast size and not absolutely skinny waist and her flat feet. This is what you should want for your doll. I believe the quote directly is, Lamliy is realistic, and why can't we teach young children that real life is good? Why are we killing our children's ability to imagine a better future? You are teaching complacency in the name of wanting to see yourself in this doll? Because if you love Lamliy, I love that for you. But Lamliy is not a fashion doll. She is an outrage campaign dressed like a Sunday school teacher in a deeply Christian evangelical church. She's wearing these skirts. She's wearing this long dress and a jean jacket. Straight out of Fundy Fridays. And she's got the flat feet, so she's not wearing cute shoes. What is the appeal? Realism. Where's the imagination? I guess you see yourself in that? It's my cross to bear that my hot take is Lamliy bad. That is my true and deepest hot take. That means I've got 14 minutes to burn through this. Alright. She's so boring. And you might as well write fan fiction about a nice third grade teacher. This doll does not inspire fashionable imagination. And I think she could have. Because I think if you have the Lamliy body type and you put cute clothing on her, there's this undernote that to be average means you can't be glamorous or fun. That her thing is she likes to go traveling. Okay, why is she wearing a long dress? Why can't she have her legs out? Is there not room for the big girl to have her legs out? To be sexy and fun? To be flirty and fashionable? So, this has traces of Babbity Kate's video, which Babbity Kate is a TikToker, and she posts some of her stuff to YouTube now, where she talks about how little girls play with dolls, and specifically the Esmeralda doll, where she's like, hey, people in the comments were like, oh my god, I used to play, Burning on the Cross with her, where children will do anything with dolls. They get crazy if they like the doll. And I think that there's space for that, and there's a fundamental misunderstanding of how little girls play with dolls if you think giving this little girl, and gender inclusive language, please, assumed, if you give this little person a doll, and then you say, play with it, imagine with it, and you give them the blandest, of course some of them are going to play with it if they like dolls, but if they already don't like dolls, and you're giving them this thing to play with, and you say, figure it out, you're gonna breed a bunch of people who are like, well, obviously the doll was the problem, and the child isn't the problem. It is the parent insisting on giving that child the doll, and then the fucking corporate people who are going to see poor sales of a certain type of doll and say that no one wants that doll. Or see corporate outright, see people being mad about the doll and say that we made the wrong doll when you were marketing it to the wrong people. It's like action cartoons in the 2000s. Give it to the girls. When I played with dolls, and I mostly played with my scene dolls because they were fun. They had the coolest fashion. And they would be dressed up in their fashionable snow clothing. And then I would play Snowstorm, where they'd all be trapped in, it was a shoebox. They'd all be trapped in this shoebox where they are all forced to live with each other, and there's conflict, and there is intrigue and drama and romance, because I had 2 boy dolls. And that appealed to me. That was good dolling. But if you don't like dolls, Like, I have many friends who don't. That's just not going to appeal to them. And making dolls that, because the Lammly doll, body, fine. I don't like how he fucking advertised later on where he's like, if I put acne on this Barbie doll, it's gonna get clicks. Gross. Period pad one definitely is like the red flag about it being a man, where it's like, what's the market share of people playing with dolls, and what is their accessibility to being close enough to menstruate in a, in an average setting as compared to someone who's having a medical anomaly? And you should start talking to your kids about their body as it is appropriate for them. But a doll that you just have these sticker pads that you just stick on things, pads are expensive, you can't just be fucking around with them like that. I'm leaving Lamliy alone. She is, I dislike her. So.
And just not a whole lot. She didn't come with any extra accessories, but her website featured a plethora of exciting clothing options for you to purchase at an additional cost. Williamsburg Night Out. Just gorgeous. Love the zebra and camouflage pants. A lot of dolls are brave enough to release outfits that are appropriate for the funeral of a distant family member. Now this, peak Pentecostal couture. You win this one, Lammily. She's still not that girl, but she ate this one thing. By the way,
with a doll that is as bland as Lamliy, sorry, so one more line, there is no amount of blanding in the name of average or relatability that is going to save those friends from disliking Barbie. I think Barbie has a couple of tenets. I have 4, but the tenets are hair play, fashions, playability, and imagination. I think if your child doesn't fit at least 2 of those criterias and tenets, that Barbie might not be the doll for them. Any changes made to those core tenets make a weaker, less appealing doll. So like career Barbie that is bland and like the clothing's bad, that loses fashionability and imagination. Playability is still there, but like you're doing a lot more work with the imagination part. You end up with like 80s Barbie that has like crazy hair, the fashions, and imagination, and we know that kids were playing with those Barbies. You end up with a certain other type of Barbie that removes other tenets, and it becomes less about Barbara. We're gonna run it and see how long I can go, but if not, this might be part 1, and then I'll do part 2 at another point. I like, in this intermission, I guess, we're gonna talk about things that I like about Barbie. This is September 2023, so the new face sculpt, the limited edition face sculpt of the Down syndrome Barbie, that I think is, good, cute, as long as they make fashion packs for her, because that's the thing, you gotta uplift you gotta support the system. You can't just make a doll and say, here, and then there's nothing for it. If the body type changes, you have to make clothing that fit that body type. The recent changes from 2016 are the fashionista dolls with the body types, curvy, tall, short, and regular. And then the blander career Barbies, like I referenced the presidential Barbie from both 2016 and 2020. She's wearing a sensible pantsuit. At least give us a glitter peplum, bro. Part of that comes with the fact that their doll companies are spending less and less money on the clothing of these Barbies, specifically Barbie, because Rainbow High, up until recently, did not have that issue, and maybe it's a scale, you're reaching a certain scale where you can't do it, but Barbie fashionistas as a whole, good, because what you end up is like Barbies with no discernible personality, with different faces, coloring, makeup, it's all different, and sometimes you get a roll of the dice and you get an ugly fashionistas doll. like the clothing's bad, the makeup's weird, the print is gone, it's wrong. Like sometimes you get that, but a lot of times you get a really interesting doll, and I love that.